Hey Tiger Cubs, welcome back to Tiger Cub News. To kick this episode off, here's sports.
Hey Tiger Cubs, welcome back to the sports episode for the week.
Starting off, our boys volleyball team had two games, one against Foothill and the other against Dana.
They sadly lost against Foothills and also lost in a close game to Dana. Here are some highlights from that game.
Lastly, our track team had their finals last Thursday at San Marino and placed very well. Numerous of our runners got first place. Here are some highlights from the final meet.
That's all for this week. See ya!
Keep up the great work, Tiger Cubs. Now, we'll roll the food segment for this week.
So I just had ramen for the first time in a long time, and it was really delicious. There was a nice warm, creamy broth. The noodles were good, and they didn't absorb too much of the broth, so they stayed a good texture. And there was a nice fatty pork belly, which kind of melted in your mouth. All around, it was really delicious, and the atmosphere of the restaurant was nice, and the service was good. So I'd give it probably a 9 out of 10.
I thought the ramen was really good. The broth was really creamy, and the noodles had a nice texture. It was a bit expensive because they use really nice ingredients, so I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Ramen was really good, the noodles were perfect, and the broth was amazing and creamy. And the pork buns were honestly one of the best things I've ever had. I would rate them 10 out of 10, and the ramen 9.5 out of 10. Overall, the restaurant, I would give a 9.7 out of 10.
Speaking of food, have you grabbed that box of chocolates yet? Because Mother's Day is just around the corner. Here's Tomas with more about the special day.
Mother's Day can be traced back to the Romans, where they had festivals celebrating the mother goddess Rhea and Cybele, but the closest today was in Europe called Mothering Sunday, where workers would return to their mother church. This would be a religious holiday, but would become more secular, with children showing their mother's appreciation with flowers and other tokens of appreciation. When the holiday came to America, it would go through many forms, such as Mother's Friendship Day and Mother's Peace Day. But it came to what it is thanks to Anna Jarvis, who came up with the idea of honoring the sacrifices made from mothers after hers passed away. Jarvis would write several newspapers and politicians urging the addition of Mother's Day, and her hard work would pay off, with President Woodrow Wilson making Mother's Day an official holiday. The most calls out of any other day in the world is on Mother's Day, with over 122 million. Now Mother's Day is widely celebrated in the US, with children thanking their mothers with gifts and actions.
Next, we have a segment on Section 230, which defines how we use the internet.
Section 230 is a law proposed by Congress regarding the freedom of expression online. It talks about being responsible for actions committed by oneself, but not of others. In other words, when somebody online states something viewed as harmful, that is the fault of the person stating it, not the company that runs the service in which they stated it. For example, if someone made a hurtful comment on Twitter, let's say, Twitter isn't responsible. The person who made the comment is. Section 230 does not permit companies to create harmful content themselves, though. As stated by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, it does not protect companies that violate federal criminal law. It does not protect companies that create illegal or harmful content, nor does Section 230 protect the companies from intellectual property claims. Now, I'm sure at this point you've seen the TikTok Supreme Court case that's happened a couple weeks ago. It was pretty clear the politicians had no clue what they were talking about, but nonetheless, they are still attempting to ban it. It doesn't make too much sense as what they're attempting to take down TikTok for, which is stealing user data and selling it to China. Other apps do just as bad or even worse. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. But of course, the US government is only worried about the Chinese one. Pretty interesting how they seem to not let the TikTok CEO talk pretty much the whole interview. They only want to share their points and not hear the other side out, which makes sense as most of what they were saying made no sense at all. That's it for this week. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.
Now, here's Leo with underqualified etymology. And if you don't know what etymology is, neither do I.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Underqualified Etymology. Skipping to the chase, today we're talking about a couple of words used in a little indie game called chess. Breezing past the history of the actual game, because I'm an etymologist, not whatever would even apply there. If you've ever played or watched chess, you must be familiar with our 2 words today. That's right, you lucky little students, you get 2 words today. And I'm giving you ample time to guess them. Go ahead. I may not have thought this through. Moving on, the words today are check and checkmate. Ubiquitous as there ever was, but keeping to the formula, it's time to define them. Put simply, a check in chess is when you threaten the opposing king piece, forcing the opponent player to save him. And a checkmate is when you threaten the opposing king, but the opposing player can't do anything to save him anymore, so you win. As I'm sure you're all familiar, I'm now going to move on to a quick spot of history. The game of chess originated in India. It quickly spread throughout the world on the Silk Road, eventually arriving in Persia, where 2 Persian words came into common use for the game, Shah and Shahmat, respectively meaning king and the king is dead. Sound familiar yet? As the game continued to spread, more words were adapted. Persian to Arabic, the words stayed consistent, but Arabic to Old French, they converted to eshek and eshekmot. And finally, Old French to Middle English, check and checkmate. Enlightening, yes? So then, mini deep dive concluded. If you learned something new, I've done my job. If not, then well, I guess I'm leaving then. Next segment.
Thank you, Leo. Next up, we have Ansel with Music A to Z.
What's up, Tiger Cubs? Welcome back to another episode of Music A to Z. Today we're going over the letters W. Willie Nelson. Willie Hugh Nelson is an American singer, songwriter, musician, political activist, and actor. He was one of the main figures of outlaw country, a subgenre of country music that developed in the late 1960s as a reaction to the conservative restrictions of the Nashville sound. The critical success of his album Shotgun Willie, combined with the critical and commercial success of Red-Headed Stranger and Stardust, made Nelson one of the most recognized artists in country music. Nelson has acted in over 30 films, co-authored several books, and has been involved in activism. The Who. The Who are an English rock band formed in London in 1964. Their core lineup consisted of lead vocalist Roger Daltrey, guitarist Pete Townsend, bassist John Entwistle, and drummer Keith Moon. They're considered one of the most influential rock bands of the 20th century and have sold over 100 million records worldwide. They're cited as an influence by many hard rock, punk, power pop, and mod bands. The Who were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was an American singer and actress. Nicknamed The Voice, she's one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with over 200 million records sold worldwide. In 2023, Rolling Stone ranked her second on their list of the greatest singers of all time. Houston influenced many singers in popular music, and she was known for her powerful, soulful vocals and vocal improvisation skills. Wiz Khalifa. Wiz Khalifa is an American rapper, singer, songwriter, and actor. He released his debut album Show and Prove in 2006 and signed to Warner Bros. Records in 2007. His Eurodance-influenced single, Say Yeah, received urban radio airplay, charting on the Rhythmic Top 40 and Hot Rap charts in 2008, becoming his first minor hit. That's all we have for today, Tiger Cubs. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
See you next time.
Next up is News Minute, followed by an important announcement from Green Club.
Hey Tiger Cubs, I'm Abigail and welcome back to this week's News Minute. To start off, the World Health Organization has just declared COVID-19 no longer a global emergency. After over 3 years, it is no longer considered an international concern. One reason why this decision was made was because the rate of COVID-19 deaths has been decreasing. The Biden administration also has plans to end the public health emergency status later this month. In national news, the U.S. Department of Labor recently found over 300 minors working at McDonald's over the amount of legal hours. This includes 2 Kentucky 10-year-olds working unpaid throughout the night, sometimes until 2 a.m. More locally in weather news, last week there was a tornado near Compton and Carson, the third one in 3 months in the Los Angeles area. The tornado reached up to wind speeds of 75 miles per hour. Luckily, there were no people injured, just some slight damages to buildings and cars. That's all for this week, Tiger Cubs. I'm Abigail, and this was your weekly News Minute.
Hi everyone! Green Club's exciting announcement. Thanks to Miss Busick and the Green Club team, our school officially composts now. Composting is taking food that would be wasted and thrown out and turning it into nutrient-packed soil to be used. According to feedamerica.org, 119 billion pounds of food were wasted in the U.S. just last year. To help, our school now has green composting bins out in the quad, in addition to regular trash. These bins are only for food waste, so absolutely no metal, glass, plastic, foam, masks, or anything that is not plant-based. Please do your part to help the earth by participating in this program. If you want to do more, join Green Club, which meets every Thursday in room 107 from 2:50 to 3:30. We are dedicated to becoming part of the solution, not the problem, and we start right here in our community. Save the earth, Tiger Cubs!
Now, onto the best Mario movie review yet, brought to you by a professional tomato-themed review company.
Hello and welcome back to Decaying Like a Perskin. This week we will be reviewing the Mario movie.
This is one of the best movies we have reviewed yet. Almost everything in this movie was well planned into 90 minutes.
It got straight to the point without leaving any backstory out. With all the references to the other games, this movie was pretty much the best it could be.
Some of the scenes felt a little rushed, making it seem like the creators felt like they were unimportant, therefore they didn't put as much effort into them.
Nothing in this movie was bad enough to stand out. You don't really notice the pacing issues until the second time watching it.
There were some parts where there was a perfect spot to put in a reference or music from one of the games, but they didn't.
Those were the only problems in this movie we could find that weren't a big deal. The other qualities in this movie make up for them.
The jokes in this movie were good overall. There were 1 or 2 of them that we didn't find funny, but other people probably did.
Taking into consideration the jokes, the pacing, and the references, we give this movie a 9.5 out of 10.
Now, let's journey on to our next segment, Mythology.
Hi, I'm Micah, and today we'll be talking about the Hawaiian glacier myth. This explains why there's a glacier on top of one of the volcanoes. So, our story starts on the volcano Mauna Kea and the 4 resident cupolas, Poliahu, Lilinoe, Waiau, Kohopohokane, or snow, mist, underground reservoir, and hot springs. So, the cupolas are doing some hula sledding, or Hawaiian lava sledding. So they are sliding down and climbing back up until they meet a woman named Kehalele and asks if they want to join. So they join, and Kehalele shows that they are an expert. So Poliahu challenges Kehalele. The other cupolas grab some of the farmers to be judges, and they race. Poliahu zips down the slope as if it was made of ice, but Kehalele speeds down so fast that the sun starts sparking. The judges then declare Poliahu the winner, and Kehalele gets angry at this. Then the volcano starts erupting, and the 4 other cupolas realize they just called Pele a loser. So Pele starts destroying Mauna Kea, and the 4 cupolas start doing their thing. Poliahu starts a blizzard, Milanoe covers the ground with mist, and Waiau and Kahopokane starts flooding the island. And the volcano is covered with a glacier, and Pele can't do anything.
These next 2 segments will answer all of your questions. Here's What Is and Trivia. Now, let's take a look at some of the cute animals people own. Here is the pet segment. This week in Hidden History, Caden will be taking us back to ancient Egypt.
Greetings, Tiger Cubs, and welcome back to Hidden History. Today we'll be covering the interesting facts and details regarding the ancient Egyptians. These guys are some of my favorites. Grab your chisel and brush, let's dive in. Number 1. Cleopatra was not Egyptian. Besides popular figures like King Tut, Cleopatra is the most widely used name when people think of ancient Egypt. However, her cultural roots did not originate there, rather being part of a family of Greek Macedonians descended from Ptolemy I, a well-known lieutenant of Alexander the Great. The Ptolemaic dynasty ruled Egypt for 275 years. Number 2. Egyptians were known to have performed labor strikes, the most well-known of which happened during the rule of Pharaoh Ramses III, when paid laborers worked on building a royal necropolis at Dur el Medina were denied the regular payment of grain. They stopped working and entered nearby mortuaries where they sat until their demands were met. The strike succeeded, and the workers received the food they were promised. 3. King Tut may have been killed by a hippopotamus. Historians have a surprising lack of information on King Tutankhamun and his background, but scans of his body may show how he died. When his body was examined, it was found he was embalmed and wrapped without his heart and chest wall. This contrasts with the way Egyptians usually bury the deceased, preserving each individual organ for the afterlife. This missing part of his chest shows a brutal injury before his death, and several experts suggest that this wound was likely the result of a hippopotamus. This falls in line with the knowledge that he hunted exotic animals for sport. What an unlikely end for such a famous ruler. That's it for Hidden History, everyone. Have a good one.
We'll close off the episode with birthdays and credits. Thanks for watching. You did so good looking. High five.